Today we are all gathered here to sort of understand a new technology, a new technique, a new methodology which is emerging in the world, which we are trying to name it as farm revival. In an Indian context, we also call it Prakalpa Sanjeevani, that means project revival. This word, what it means is, in our mythological sort of books, there was a story that somebody was poisoned and some of the natural herbs, natural roots, plant was brought from Himalayas, juice was extracted and given it to him, and instantly that person revived and was completely recovered. The same thing, we have a simile in today's modern agriculture, that what has happened is, in the last 40 to 60 years we have gone and changed the way the farming is being done on a global scale. A massive use of chemical fertilizer has been done on a global scale. Every farm is using that practically, except maybe the exception of organic farms. We are also using a very large quantity of pesticides, biocides, fungicides, herbicides, weedicides. And what are these? These are also poisons in classical sense. So, what we have managed to do in the last 40 to 60 years is build up toxicity in our farmlands, in our soils. So, what this has basically done to our soils, our farms, is our biological component of our soil has weakened substantially in terms of the number of biological animals, the bacteria, the fungal population, the protozoas, the nematodes, the microarthropods and so on, the earthworms. They have reduced in terms of their population. We have depleted them. At the same time, we have also used up our organic carbon. We have dropped from 5 to 7%, and now we are playing between many places 0.5% all the way to 1.5% typically. What you are realizing is these two physical changes, which are man-made, man-induced in our farms, has led to our soils becoming hard and compact. We are also now employing a very high level of mechanization in terms of tilling and in terms of rotovation, pulverizing the soil. This also has caused a disruption in terms of killing our fungal population, mycorrhizal population. We have broken their hands and legs, we have destroyed their homes, and now we are expecting them to work for us. So on one hand we are spraying fungicides on them, pesticides on them, killing them by destroying their habitat, and then we are expecting them to symbiotically associate with our root zone, improve our water uptake efficiency. Not going to happen. All these factors have basically led to the sluggish responses of our farms our soils to the growth factor, to the yield factors of the modern farming which is happening today. And so our farmers are now using more and more inputs of chemical fertilizers. And interestingly, as they have increased the chemical inputs from the fertigation perspective, they also have experienced that the pest pressure has increased. So on both sides the input cost have gone up, and this is a major worry for the farmers. The worry for the society is that society wants nutritious food. Are they getting it? The answer is no. There is a global decline of nutrition content to the extent of 40%. In India, we have observed it up to 48%. And these are government reports. This is not my report or anybody's report. These are actual studies done on large scale. So the society is looking for better food, nutrient dense food. Today if you see, nutrical business has shot up as a product line to be consumed by the consumer. Why your food cannot be rich? That's what you will have to think, and that's what the demand is. The second is the residual toxicity of the pesticides, of the fungicides, of the all the herbicides which we are leaving on our food which is getting produced, and then naturally in our soils also. World will move on with respect to increasing the wealth, and people will not mind paying you more if you produce nutritionally dense food, if you produce residue free food, that means no pesticides, no trace, if you produce basically better shelf life, and if you produce a better quality in terms of the look, size, uniformity. These are reasons where customer will want to pay you more. Now let's talk about the farm profitability, because that's a subject which I am sure is dear to all of you. So let me ask a question to the audience, that typically in terms of a dollar terms or in terms of the rupee term, what is the cost of land today on an average? Let's say if we go to United States or if we go to India, what would be a typical land price reasonably? I mean, let's say we don't talk about a specific area, but by and large we can assume around $5,000 an acre.
Yeah, more or less in that range.
Correct. And in India also you are looking at maybe somewhere around $20,000.
Yeah.
Somewhere around that number, $20,000 or $25,000.
Yes.
Now, if we continue the way we are practicing this whole technology, one day our lands are going to become toxic, which will make them barren.
Yes.
Now, if that happens, what will be the residual value of these lands? Anybody can answer?
We feel like if the way the land is becoming barren and the productivity is coming down, it is expected that this would remain hardly 15 to 20% of the today's cost.
So let's say you may have a residual value of only $1,000.
Yeah.
And the similar from maybe $20,000, it might come down to $2,000 in Indian context.
Yes.
That means on your balance sheet you will have to now take into account that that is the value loss you are generating on a year-on-year basis for the next 25 years. So what you are basically registering is somewhere around $200 or $300 per year loss is just your starting negative cost. and this is something which is to be accounted for. What our effort has been, that if we have to increase the profitability, not only we will have to minimize this but reverse this, but at the same time we have to basically add value to the farmer so that he actually gets paid more. When he becomes chemical free, I am sure you will get paid some more. Now whether 10%, 5%, 20%, I don't know that, but something which will be, people will be happy to pay you more as time goes by. And definitely if your yield increases, that also will improve your realization. Now this farm revival project protocol methodology which Zydex has pioneered in which we have developed over a period of time with specific products which are being improved in different segments, which is like farmyard manure compost, which are biofertilizers, which are basically the technologies which are reducing the abiotic stresses and improving the growth, and which are also having an ability to protect the plant. So all this innovation we have brought as a system, and what we are making a statement is, for the first time, a one crop switch we can do from a chemical farming to a biological farming.
Okay.
We are talking about sustainable farming. I am not saying that this will happen under organic farming, because organic farming has a lot of restrictions in terms of the inputs, and it follows what we call as the natural farming as a basis of their certification, their approach. In the original definition of sustainability, nobody had put that much of emphasis on natural. The practices need to be sustainable, which should make the lands productive, fertile, and we should be able to exploit the genetic potential of our seeds, our plants, in terms of the yield output. As long as that is being done, we can accept that, and as long as they are not toxic, as long as they are not harming the humans, I think that is sustainable. And today's this whole presentation is going to talk about how do we do this, what are the technologies, what are the methods which we can follow to achieve this. So having built this background of why there is a need to have a switch, let me ask a question to the audience. Are there any farmers who are saying that no, I love chemicals, I want to add only chemical fertilizers, I want to add only the chemical sprays, and I don't like biology, I don't like natural farming, I don't like the original how the forest is working? Is there anybody in the audience who says he loves chemical?
Nobody would say that. The only problem is they don't have an option.
Okay, so nobody likes it. The question is, you are looking for alternatives.
Right.
And here is an alternative which I am proposing, and I will explain it to you in great details, why this alternative is actually workable and why this is the future, how the farming can be done without the chemical nutrient as a mechanism. We need to switch from chemical nutrient to a biological nutrient mechanism, and we will explain that how that will happen, and successfully, and with a yield positive impact, and with a water reduction impact. So we are talking about 40 to 50% water reduction in this protocol also. So let's go step by step. The first step is, let's ask a question to ourselves: are our soils, the farms, really soft and porous, or they are hard and compact? What is the status today? How would you describe it?
They are pretty much hard and compact.
Okay.
It is taking a lot of time for machinery to till the fields now.
Okay. So your diesel consumption, your horsepower requirement of your machinery has increased over a period of time.
Oh yes.
And now you are realizing that your soils have become hard and they are compact.
Yeah. Yes.
That means your soils are not able to breathe. That's a very simple visualization of what is happening to your farms.
Yeah.
Your farms are not breathing anymore. When your farms don't breathe, do you expect that the animals, the microbial population, the fungal population, the protozoa, nematodes, they are all living very happily inside?
No, in fact their population has gone down.
Gone down. So, under a compacted soil format, your biology cannot live happily, their population cannot grow, they cannot breathe oxygen, which is very critical for them to grow. So, what is the solution? Is there a technology globally which can make the soil soft and porous in first application and in the first attempt?
We haven't come across one.
You have not come across one. So, here is the breakthrough which Zydex Industries has brought for the global farming population, which basically depends on a new set of technologies, what we call as Zytonic. That means ability to create porosity, ability to create the pillar structures through a biodegradable, biodigestible polymer technique, along with the microbial inoculation, which can be considered as biofertilizers. Now, if you can do that, one of the important aspect where you need to start is, what do I feed them? Today, if you look at use of compost or use of organic manure, use of even green manuring, now a lot of people are doing cover crops. So, adding carbon has not been practiced and been successful on a large way. Am I right?
That's right.
So, the key question will be, how do you reverse that? How do you address that? One of the source of excellent, what I would say, compost is the animal excreta, which is available from dairies, from animal breeding, and that is always mixed with some of the fodder or whatever we are feeding them, which is left behind, and that can be composted. Also, you have lot of city compost, which is also full of organic matter, which can also be composted. Now, today composting process requires oxygen, water, and you can do it through two mechanisms, one bacterial and one fungal. Most of the people have been following bacterial digestion technique, but actually you require fungal biodigestion technique for one reason, that since you have destroyed the fungal population preferentially in your soil by rotovating, by tilling constantly, you need to now build the fungal population back up. To give you an example, today your bacterial population is, if it is 1, your fungal population is down to 0.1, 0.2, whereas it should be actually 3 to 5 in order to give you what we call as highest biomass per square meter. Now, every farmer is interested in producing highest biomass, because that is what will decide how much organic matter will get produced and how much yield he will get. So, it is important that whatever composting you do, it is done with fungal biodigestion process, so that the fungal population grows while the digestion is on. 2-3 points to be taken into consideration. Bacteria breathe more oxygen, produce more heat. Fungal population converts the organic matter preferentially into humus and humic substances. Breathe 1/5, produce that much less heat. And what you will realize that your population of fungal, if you have chosen the correct species, will also improve. So, the step 1 of the project revival is, let us prepare the correct compost, and now all this you can do even with static composting. So, your cost will come down. The biggest problem with the farmers is, I don't have the machinery, I don't have the skill set to turn, to spray water. What I am saying is, you can take your farm residue, you can take your animal residue, that means the animal excreta, the animal fodder, put it on the ground and make a Zytonic biodigester solution. I am using the word Zytonic biodigester solution. Now, what is this Zytonic word is going to do? What that technology is going to do? It will improve the space in the pile. It will make it more porous. It will make it hold the water better. And it will also improve the gas exchange. Once that happens, you will realize that you are able to increase the digestion speed, because at the end of the day it is oxygen, it is the water, and it is the organic matter conversion with respect to the fungal population which will start happening. It is our experience that anywhere between 30 to 45 days, these static piles without turning, when saturated with water to the extent of 20 to 30%, are very efficiently decomposed. 100% decomposition can happen almost, and you will realize that it is smell free, it is having earthy smell. That means more aerobic animals are there, anaerobic are less. It is also fine in their nature, so easy to spread, and one can now look at spreading even 1 metric ton to 2 metric ton per acre as a standard protocol. But in every crop cycle, you need to feed your soil with this material, because it is biorich, it is free flowing, it is completely digested, and it is high in humus and humic substances. So our nutrient exchange capacity of the soil is improving, and this is very critical when you want to shift from chemical nutrient to bionutrient technique. So this management of humus in your soil is important aspect. So this, once you have understood this, it becomes easy. So the first step is manufacturing locally in your own farm or from outside, but with the Zytonic biodigester technique, and take the product and then use, but every crop cycle. In 1 year, if it is a perennial crop, use twice. So 2 times you must charge. Why I am saying this? Suppose if I tell you, you are invited to live in my town, and then I tell you that look, in my town, there is a rule that every Sunday, feast. Eat what you want. All desserts, all pizzas, everything. But next whole week you cannot eat. Now would you want to stay in my town or go back to your own town? Answer is going to be obviously, I am heading back to my town. So, what I am telling you is, unless you feed your land the properly biodigested manure, you are starving your biological population, and you cannot then switch to bionutrient as a mechanism. So food for them is a must. Up to 1 metric ton per acre, you are good. Every 3 months, 6 months, if you can afford, you are good. Typically, one farm animal can produce around 8 to 10 metric tons of excreta. So you can actually have enough of farmyard manure biodigested even with 2 crop cycle for 4 acres, if you do a mathematics. So one animal, 4 acres entire year, even with the 2 crop cycle or a perennial crop. And I think that's the kind of a animal population a farmer must maintain if he wants to start mimicking the old ways of farming. If you look at before the mechanization, the farms were farmed by animals. Those animals are gone. They don't need it. But if you want to feed the biology, that's the right way to do it. And then definitely there will be cover crops. You can take farm residue also and spray the Zytonic digester on farm residues. Banana residues, rice residues, sugarcane residues. You talk about any residue and you spray this digester, the fungal digester on them, and you will realize that in 2 months' time, most of the farm sort of fodder form residue is completely biodigested, and you have produced an in situ compost on your farm right there. So no need to move out and no need to move in. So a huge labor cost is saved. All you have to do is manage to spray them on a regular basis every 15 days, this solution. Now what is this solution? You take 200 liters of water and you put 2 kgs of the Zytonic biodigester, and you basically now are able to spray this after dissolution onto the farm residue or on the compost. The weight of the compost should be around 1 metric ton. The pile of the compost or the residue should not be more than 3 feet. What you have to ensure as a critical point is the entire pile must be drenched, and the internal parts of your compost should be saturated with Zytonic biodigester solution. If you do not allow the fungus, if you do not allow the Zytonic technology to enter into the compost pile, into the opening of the farm residue, you will realize that you are not getting a full digestion, and that's not good, because unless you restore your good quality stable organic matter, humus percentage, nutrient exchange capacity, what we will call as cation exchange capacity, anion exchange capacity, you will not be able to manage the bionutrient availability in an enhanced way. So, step number 1, biodigestion. Now we come to step number 2. So let's stop here and take some questions in case anybody has any issues on the biodigestion which we are likely to follow to prepare our lands for food as well as the humus content.
I have one question. In normal conditions, when we are making these compost, we have to turn it twice, thrice, and it usually takes about 90 days. Whereas you are saying that it can be done in 30 to 45 days and no need
Without
to
turning. Without turning.
Is that true, and how do you achieve that?
Yeah. See, I use the word Zytonic. Zytonic biodigester is something unique in its innovation. Zytonic will help you to first open up the pile and improve your gas exchange as well as the water holding capacity. The moment these two happens, now you will realize that your speed of biodigestion is increasing, and then you will realize that the survival of the microbes depends on food which is already there, water which we are helping to improve, and that is why you don't need to turn. Turning you are doing because you are basically having a compaction issue of the compost. You are not able to breathe, and that's exactly the technology of Zytonic. That Zytonic allows you to basically improve the gas exchange process. So hope that helps you to understand that why it is going to be faster and why you don't need to turn.
All right. And another thing which comes to my mind is if, as you said, you can apply on the crop residues. So will that also be done in 30-45 days, or it may take some more time?
Typically our experience has been that you should need anywhere around 60 days to 90 days.
Okay.
So if it is leafy, 60 days. If it is hardwood stems, then it would take 90 days. Typically that's a good number to go by.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. So let's move to the point number 2 of the farm revival protocol, that is field preparation. That means the farm preparation during the sowing operation. What we expect is, if you take this 1 metric ton of compost pile, you mix in that what we call as a Zytonic M as a biofertilizer, approximately 20 kgs. Now in this we have given you a complete biological balance which is required for the fungal and the macronutrient supply mechanism. So whether it is N, P or K, all that is combined in one. What we need to do is also understand that this Zytonic platform is going to make the soil soft and porous by increasing the porosity, by improving the water retention in the expanded space. And if that happens, what you may find that your biological population, local as well as inoculated, both will grow faster, both will multiply. Now this is a good news, because not only our own local culture is getting amplified, but also super efficient bacteria which are synthesized in the fermentation, fungal population which are synthesized on the roots is being inoculated, and the soil can start functioning well immediately. Bacteria takes 6 hours to double. Fungal population takes 24 hours to double. The protozoas, nematodes, 3 weeks. And the bigger the animals, more time. So, there will be a certain period required for recharging the battery, the biological battery of your soils. It's not going to be instantaneous. It will take maybe 45 days, 60 days to get the entire population humming with activity and the population density going up. But for that, maintaining the gas exchange, maintaining the water, maintaining the food availability are the critical aspects. And that's exactly what we are going to achieve by following this protocol. So this 20 kg is the critical mass at the basal dose into the soil to get the plant going. Now what is the benefit? Let me ask you that if you put 100 seeds today and if you have to count the number of plant survival, that means germination and survival. At the end of the 1 month, how many plants you will find in the fields after if you have sown 100 seeds?
Typically it would be ranging from 70 to 75%.
75%. So that means you will get somewhere around after every 100 seeds 70 to 75 plants.
Right.
One thing which we have observed, that if you follow this composting technique with the biodigestion process followed with the 20 kg of the Zytonic inoculation, your plant survival rate will go up to 95% and above. Now that's a big change.
Yeah.
That means what we are saying, that somewhere around 20 plants are going to be extra for every 75 plants which were now in my chemical field. So if I divide 20 divided by 75, I am basically increasing the plant population by 25 to 28%, somewhere around that.
True.
That means my production automatically will have a higher yield by that percentage. This is step 1. This is the big sort of an improvement which we are doing. It's expensive, it's not cheap, but you have eliminated the chemical fertilizers, you have eliminated the fungicides and all that seed treatments and everything you do, and now you have more surviving, robust, healthy plants. Why? Because when your soils are soft and porous now, your root zone is bigger. Your plant's ability to absorb nutrients and water is better. So their growth is higher, their growth is faster, more vigorous, more greener. So all these benefits you see at the 1 month stage. So one of the biggest questions which most of the farmers would have, is this real? Can we really switch from the chemical fertigation to a biological fertigation? Now let's understand that what happens at a mechanistic level. If you look at what are you supplying? You are supplying nitrates through urea, you are supplying ammonium through the diammonium phosphate or ammonium nitrate or whatever ammonium based, or even direct ammonia injection, many people do. Your plant is absorbing them in the water soluble form. The mechanism is that these nitrates and these ammonium need to be converted into amino acid. Without that, plant cannot convert them into the peptides and the proteins which it requires. And this nitrate ammonium to amino acid is a very energy intensive process. Your plant actually consumes a huge amount of energy in doing that. Now we can do this naturally. How? I made the soil soft and porous. I inoculated the nitrogen fixing bacteria. I inoculated the basically rhizobiums. All these bacteria have the ability to breathe oxygen and nitrogen inside and then fix that nitrogen directly into their body in the amino acid form very efficiently. This is the natural mechanism which has been working for millions of years. And we can do that efficiently if we have the adequate numbers and the efficiency of their functioning, which is guided by food availability, water availability and oxygen availability. And we have optimized all that. So suddenly you will realize that this nutrient is available in the amino acid form because the protozoas and the nematodes, they eat the bacteria and the fungal population. They don't need that much of nutrient, hardly 15-20%. The rest comes out in a biodigested form, in the water soluble form, and they become available and they are absorbed by the roots. There is also now the mechanism of rhizophagy, which has been fairly established through the microscopic studies. I think Dr. James White at the Rutgers University has clearly shown evidence that not only through the roots but also through the leaves, these bacteria, these fungal population can enter into the plant, and the plant can then strip the metabolites through the superoxide formation and digest them. But this digestion is happening through the protozoa nematode mechanism or through the rhizophagy mechanism. Both mechanisms are delivering amino acid form for the nitrogen, which is the bulk requirement, which is the most energy intensive process. And you will realize that now if I switch from the nitrogen supply to a bionutrient nitrogen supply, this is more efficient and this is sufficient. Now let me share with you, we have done the farm revival project on potatoes. Potato is one of the most nutrient rich crop. If I could eliminate the fertilizers, chemical fertilizers completely, and actually have higher yields and supply them through the bionutrient mechanism, that means for most of the crop cycles I have enough of bionutrient supply competing with the chemical nutrient. There is a concern on a scientific community that will bionutrient availability ever match the chemical nutrient supply. Now whether it is through drip or whether it is directly added to the soil, this can deliver, and through the mechanism of nitrogen fixing in the body itself. Secondly, you will say that okay, we have gotten nitrogen through the air, what about the phosphorus, what about the potassium? In the last 50 to 100 years of farming, we have put so much of fertilizers, but the uptake capacity of the plants have been 20 to 25%. That means a large part, 75 parts of our fertilizer application have converted themselves into insoluble form, and they are lying in our farms. You are not able to extract them because you don't have the requisite biology. The moment you develop the biology, the moment you can make the soil soft and porous, the moment you can feed the biology through the composting technique, the right composting technique. The moment you have the right humus-humic content, your ability through the mycorrhiza to release organic acid, to solubilize phosphorus, to make glycoproteins, to make aggregate structure, increase your carbon content in your soil. Your ability of phosphorus, potassium, solubilizing and mobilizing through the bacterial population is very high. And because you have a very soft and porous soil, one of the most important thing is your root zone will be bigger. Make sense?
Right.
Your hyphae network, because of the bacterial, fungal population of mycorrhiza, it's going to get associated with the root zone and it's going to spread its fungal network through the root zone. So that will make it dense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So suddenly your absorption capacity of the nutrients through a large rhizosphere for the plant, through a dense rhizosphere for the plant is very high. At the same time, what will happen to your water absorption capacity? Will it go up or go down? What do you think? Go up. And there is another interesting aspect at this level. When you put chemical fertilizers, they are nothing but electrolytes. They are water soluble. When they are in the solution form in the soil, they will not allow the osmotic pressure of the plant to absorb very easily. So the plant will not absorb solution because the solute concentration is very high. And if this happens, the plant will die. It will wilt. And this phenomena you have seen. If you don't water, the plant dies.
Yes.
So if you don't apply the fertilizer now, then everything is bio. So you don't have the electrolytic effect. So will your plant need so much water? The answer is no. And if your root zone is large, the hyphae network is dense, your absorption capacity is high, so do you really need to maintain that moisture percentage? The answer will be you can maintain with less and get away with that. And this is one of the fundamental requirement and need of the world, that we learn to do farming with less water. Water stresses need to be reduced. And this is a very important point on a global basis, that the world is actually looking for developing farm techniques with less water.
Yeah.
So biofarming is the solution which will address this issue, because you have eliminated electrolytes from your soil. At the same time, through the farm revival technology, through the Zytonic technology, you made it much bigger. So your actual moisture content of the soil can be less and still you can absorb more, whatever is required by the plant. So this is the general, I would say, understanding of what is happening in terms of the whole biodigestion process. The one aspect of the NO3 and the ammonium is also, when you put too much of these chemical fertilizers, you realize that there is a lot of attack of pesticides, fungicide, means the pathogenic fungus or pathogens, the bacteria. Why? Because all of these guys, they cannot digest your protein, plant protein, but they need ammonium and nitrate to make their own protein. So whenever there is a flush of nitrate and ammonium, they sense that and they attack. And you will see this on every 4th or 5th day of fertilizer application. Does that make sense? Everybody has experienced that?
Yeah, that happens. In fact, in many of the recommendations, they have asked to cut down on the nitrogen application to avoid some diseases.
Correct. So, this mechanism, when you understand, you will realize that your immunity, because of the large root zone, your ability to absorb, now your absorption of calcium, magnesium, everything will improve because you are putting less water. It's not dilute anymore, it's coming concentrated. So, you will realize that your strength of the plant is better. Your production of peptides, protein, cellulose, the sugar production, everything is better because all the nutrients are available in higher quantity and with much more vigor you are able to grow. So these are the benefits of switching the nutrient supply mechanism to this. Now, one of the key thing is, we recommend in this farm revival project that you apply the Zytonic every 45 days, smaller quantities, in order to maintain this bioefficacy, in order to maintain the soil softness, porosity, the ability to hold water. All these need to be maintained for an extended period of time. Generally, we expect that this 20 kg application should be done twice in a year minimum at the basal level across the entire soil management. If there is a perennial crop like orchards, you can give around the canopy, but twice in a year the entire soil, because whenever water comes it will be absorbed, nutrients will go inside, compost will go inside, and then you are basically able to manage your root growth. The whole idea is root growth, hyphae growth. What has happened in the current context, if you have to understand, this chemical water soluble this is like a saline feed to a human, what he gets in the hospital. When you get a glucose saline, you are energetic, you are good, but it's going directly in your blood. But if you have to eat, digest, you are going to be a better person, you are going to be healthy. But if you have to continuously get chemical to maintain your body, you realize what is happening.
Right.
So this is the way you need to visualize your own farm, that what you are doing. You have put it on a saline bottle. You actually need to change it to the digestion system. So this is the way one has to visualize that what are we really trying to accomplish. Now, if there are any questions, go ahead and ask at this point of time. Otherwise, I can proceed to the third step.
So just a reconfirmation, you said that in order to maintain the biological population to the required level, we need to keep on adding some quantity every 45 days.
Yes.
And we have to do twice a year this 20 kg dose to maintain the soil structure and the biology.
Yes.
All right.
See, again I am re-emphasizing, in row crops, in normal agricultural crops, typically they are between 4 months to typically 6 months or 8 months.
Yes.
Sometimes sugar cane and others are longer duration crops, maybe 12 months, 14 months, like that.
Yeah.
And perennials are perennials. Just like you are feeding the chemical fertilizer constantly, similarly you will also have to feed the biological population constantly, because they also die. You as a farmer are never able to optimize everything perfectly. the sun, the temperature, the water availability at any given point of time, the food availability at any given point of time, the population of the protozoa, nematode, everything. We need to have a consideration of many complex parameters. So it is advisable that we keep inoculating this biology on a constant basis, at least for the first 5 years. So that's the way I would say. After 5 years, once we build up our organic matter content, once we build up our stable biological population, once we build up our soil porosity, then you can reduce the consumption, then you can again re-optimize it, but not for the first 5 years. Because no farmer is ready to drop his yield.
Yes.
So anything which is helping to maintain the yield or increase the yield is welcome, as long as my farm input cost is not going up.
Yes.
And the input cost will get divided into chemical fertigation, other products like PGPR, like micronutrients, other things, and the farm protection chemicals, and then the compost also. So all these are already the cost component of the today's modern agriculture, and we are basically have to look at them replacement through this farm revival protocol technology product line. Now let me address the third component of the farm revival protocol, which is what we call as Zyco Shield. Now Zyco Shield is a technology, a package which is made out of 3 components: a powder component and 2 liquid components. Now what is the purpose of Zyco Shield? Every farmer wants the plants to grow faster. He wants to make sure they look greener. He wants to make sure that the photosynthesis happens at the highest level and his yield improvements are there. Now what does he use? He uses chemical fertilizers. He uses lot of sprays of humic acid. He uses lot of sprays of seaweeds extract. He uses lot of sprays which are what we call as a PGPR, maybe the trichontanols, and maybe so many others. He also ends up in sometimes using so many sort of stimulants, what we call as biostimulants, and all this is done to give that plant a kick to start producing the sugar at a higher rate so that it can grow. Now Zydex has come out with a unique technology, what we call as Zyco Shield, which will allow the leaves to function better in terms of the photosynthesis by allowing it to absorb the dew water in the night. What we have also understood that the dew comes from condensation of vapors from the air, and it is rich in carbon dioxide. This CO2 and water are absorbed in the plant every night. Today what happens is there is a waxy layer on the plant leaf. The dew drop comes, it forms a drop and it rolls off. It is actually not getting absorbed in the plant leaves. So what this Zyco Shield is going to be done is, the way you will handle this is, you will take all these 3 components, you will make a solution for 1 acre, typically around 1.15 kg of the entire 3 component system can be prepared for 1 acre. Depending on your spraying capability, you can use 100 liters to 200 liters based on your spraying efficiency, and you spray twice in a month. Why? Because first time spray you may not get more than 60-65% coverage. The second time spray, you may go up to 90-95%. Now your leaf is covered with an anti-transpirational coating, which is going to be able to absorb water every night and give you the saturation of CO2. Imagine in the morning when the sun comes and the photon starts coming in your field, in your farm. What will happen? Your chlorophyll will start using that photon and start converting the CO2 and water into sugar at a very high efficiency. And suddenly you will realize that your Brix value is moving up, your growth is there, your photosynthesis is humming, and that's the key of growth. You don't need any other mechanism. Typically the compost, if you do it properly, if you do a proper fungal biodigestion, they themselves are able to give you enough of micronutrients also. So that is also eliminated. It's giving you humic. You don't need humic acid. And if these parameters are in place, your photosynthesis is going to drive the growth of the plant, and whatever is excess is going to go into the rhizosphere, feed the biology there. And if they don't need it, it will increase your carbon content in your soil. One of the things I wanted everybody to visualize, that when you have the ability to grow larger roots, half of the plant is below the earth by weight. If you have a high hyphae network, every time you cut the plant, you are leaving behind a huge amount of organic matter to be biodigested again. And if your biology is strong, and if your soil is soft and porous, that biodigestion can happen very rapidly. And that's one mechanism which you will realize is helping you in the farm revival protocol to increase your organic content crop cycle after crop cycle. So what you kept on losing in every crop cycle, now you are going to go back up in terms of the quantity per weight of the soil mass. Definitely the farm biomass generation also will help you, because you will have more farm residues left behind after you have picked up the sort of this thing. And you must use the biodigester technology to address that rapid conversion into humus and humic substances. So having understood this, the psycho-shield as a phenomena, one of the important things you will realize that every plant surface also has biology on it. Now when you provide it water on the plant surface, your plant leaf is rich with sugar. That means through your cuticles, through your stomatas, these microbes can now get food, get water. Suddenly what will happen? You will increase the population. You will have a very strong biological layer on your leaves. Now if you see the mechanism of attack, mostly the pathogenic fungal or bacterial, when they come, they leave behind the pectolytic enzyme on your leaf. They go through the leaf, break the pectins, and they open up the plant. And now the pest can attack, they can get in. But if it is full with biology, full with a hydrophilic layer, when the pectolytic enzyme comes, it cannot penetrate inside. So your bioprotection also is now helping you to reduce the attack of the pest, the fungal population, the fungal attack or the bio attack. And this is something which has been experienced, that this technology not only reduces the water stress, it also helps the plant to be protected better from the pest pressure. One interesting aspect of this would be, particularly in a dry zone, in a dry spell, you can use this to now allow the leaf to act like a root. You are maintaining the mechanism of the rainy season throughout the year on your plant leaf. If you can spray twice in a month, you are almost getting there. You are increasing the efficiency. You are basically maintaining a high humidity sort of environment on the leaf, and so your ability to absorb CO2, ability to absorb water is going to be maintained. So this is something to be understood. So farm revival also delivers you this solution. The next solution is, we need to have protection. Plant protection, you have technicals, but most of the time these technicals which we have seen, they are absorbed by the plant through the leaf, and the plant actually stops functioning for 3-4 days. It actually is being metabolized by that plant, and then on the 8th day you feel the need of another spray.
Right.
So one of the mechanism which we are bringing is a new technology through the nano sort of a synthesis approach in the polymers, is a mechanism to have micro encapsulation of these technicals in the polymer micelle. Now suddenly what happens is, it is able to, like an octopus, stick to the plant leaf and hold that technical on the surface and reduce the rate of release. Suddenly you will realize that the plant metabolism is not shutting down. Where you need the technical, it is there. So if the pest comes, it finds that poison and dies. But at the same time, you are realizing that you are getting an extended protection. That means this duration during the 2 sprays have gone up, and at the same time you will realize that this technology actually have the ability to reduce the need of that much technical content, because now you are able to use it more efficiently on the surface. So you can drop the concentration of technical, and in our experience we have seen up to 50% reduction. So you can start slowly, but you can do that. Many farmers will tell me now that, great, but I don't want to use technicals. I want to go complete biological. So what are the options you are going to provide under the farm revival? So what we also do is, we provide you with neem oil. Neem as a natural oil has been known to be a very good repellent for the microbial species, fungal species which are pathogenic in nature, also the pest, because it is very bitter. The problem with the neem oil was the ability to spread, ability to stick, and now we have designed a product called Zytonic Active. So when you mix this specially processed neem oil with the Zytonic Active, it basically gets again micro encapsulated and spreads evenly on the leaf, and it holds there. We have actually seen that the plant growth improves with the neem spray. And if you want to save your labor cost, you can put these neem, I would say 300 grams of neem oil, 200 grams of Zytonic active, and put it in the solution which is enough to spray 1 acre. So it could be 100 liters or somewhere around like 25 gallons. And you will realize that it has given you labor saving, growth and protection. Now protection in terms of repellency. I feel that we should not resort to killing through poisoning these insects and the pathogens, because they will mutate. In the long run, that's not a good thing. Humans will not know how to deal with them. So it is better to use the natural mechanisms which we have followed for millions of years. Just repel them from your farms and let the nature take care of it. The nature already has figured out the mechanism how to deal with all these pathogenics. And sometimes all these pathogens are not bad. When you populate with a good population, they also behave. They actually do some right functional things in the nature. So farm revival is about understanding the nature's principle, how the forests live, how the nature lives, and making it more efficient. It is living with the natural principles but more efficiently, and produce food which is desired by the society, which is nutrient dense and safe, but in good yields. So I think this is the general sort of a introduction of what we will call as farm revival as a project, as a technique, as a technology, and the products which are around that. So if you have any further questions, please go ahead.
Just one question. You have told about the Zyco Shield and also Zytonic.
Yes.
So is there a compatibility between these two products, and can they be mixed together in case if I want to take advantage of both of them together?
Yeah, what you have to do is you have to prepare the Zyco Shield solution first. Keep it overnight. Why it is critical to keep it overnight as per the protocol? Because we want everything to be completely water soluble, to form a very uniform layer. And we have seen 20 to 30% increase efficiency if you keep it overnight. So that's recommended. The Zytonic and the Zytonic active you need to mix in the morning or the evening whenever you are ready to spray. Mix it, and then you add the 500 grams combination to this 1 kg of powder and the rest of this content what you have dissolved overnight, either in the morning or in the evening. So whenever you are ready to spray, you can mix the two and go for spraying. And you will find that 2 in 1 you can get the benefit. So 1 labor cost, 2 components.
Right.
Pesticides and abiotic stress management system. Both can happen together.
One more thing, you mentioned that Zyco Shield needs to be applied twice in a month.
Yes.
What should be the interval of these two applications?
Okay. Generally, the 1st of the month and 8th of the month is a good way to look at it. But
Right.
Otherwise, every cycle go after 8 days. Because see, these are again biodegradable basically products. So the biology will eat them up. So at some point of time again the leaf is empty.
Right.
So you will have to redo it again and again.
Okay.
Because we don't want anything which will last forever.
True.
So generally 1 and 8 days, and then give a gap of 22 days, then again come back 1 and 8th day, then again give a gap of 22 days. So that's how you need to keep protocol, and this you do during the growth phase. So maybe from 15 days from the day your plant emerges, you continue that cycle till you cannot enter the field. You continue.
All right. Thank
Or
you.
you can do through aeroplanes, you can do through drones, but aeroplane may become too expensive.
Yeah.
But then if you have a drought and if you don't have water and your crop is dying, then it may be worth taking that shot.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
That was pretty clear.
Okay,
Thank you very
so
much.
thank you very much for listening. Thank you.